Hi guys, and welcome to today's video, which is all about Dali. So Dali is our second ever homebred and he's 8 years old this year, and this year he jumped his first Grand Prix. So I thought it's about time he gets a whole video talking about his whole journey, because it has been, full of ups and downs. You'll see it was definitely not a simple linear journey, but yeah, I think they're the horses that really teach you the most, aren't they? So Dali was born in 2016. He is out of my mare Fiona, whom I did jump a little bit, but really she's mostly been a brood mare. I do have some videos of me jumping like the top of the wings on her. She's plenty of jump, but she was a brood mare and has bred a few foals. And he is by the stallion Van Gogh. So as you can see, honestly, I feel like in these videos when he was first born, he did not look that big. He was, not that big. But he ends up being like 17'3", 18 hands. So yeah, he does end up being quite a big boy. But you can see his mum, Fiona, is quite a big horse herself. So these are just some fun clips from when he was a foal. Gosh, he was so cute. It's so nice looking back on these videos and remembering what he used to look like. I don't know, I almost kind of wouldn't recognize him now. It's funny, they really do grow up and change. So I don't have much from when he was a yearling. Here's just a random video I found on an old hard drive. As you can see, he wasn't the best looking yearling. Let's be very real here. He's just such a big horse, and it took him quite a while to grow into himself. Here I feel like he has a long skinny neck, a big belly. He's all kind of funny shape. So horses, he was a bit of an ugly duckling as a yearling, but he does eventually grow into himself, thank goodness. And then because I don't have any more really videos, I just put in a few photos here for you to look at and admire him, because these are probably the best shots I got of him. But he was a bit of an ugly duckling. So in 2018, he turned 2. This is just him having a trot around the arena. I was loose jumping one of the other horses. So he came in. I would never do this now. I think it is, I should really say that a lot of things in this video, like this was quite a few years ago, and I've definitely changed as a rider, and how I produce the horses has changed a little bit. So yeah, I would never loose jump or really do that much with a 2-year-old, especially one that's as big as him. But I think I was just so excited, and it was all set up for another horse. So I thought, oh, he can jump a little crossbill. Look, it's not the end of the world, but I wouldn't do it now. But it's just interesting to see his movement, how he's changed. He's still so not grown into himself here. Doesn't he look like, he's so weak and everything. But yeah, it's interesting to see him as a 2-year-old. And here's a picture for reference of my dad, who is a tall man. So now this is him in kind of the start of the year that he turns 3. So every video he just looks a little bit stronger, a little bit more filled out, but is very obviously still growing and kind of putting himself together. He has a nice little trot there. And yeah, it's just nice to see him trotting around in his woolly coat. So when he was 3, he did do a actual loose jumping session, and I will say it was not very inspiring. Poor Dali. I think because he's so big, it's taken him a long time to really sort himself out. And yeah, I don't think you would look at these videos and think, yep, that horse will jump 140, but just goes to show, you can't just go off loose jumping sometimes. So yeah, you can see he's just kind of, he's got this huge stride, he's got loads of scope, but he's just kind of figuring out where to put his legs. He's doing a bit of a Superman movement with the front legs. Doesn't really know which way to go. Like, that was very uninspiring, that jump. Sorry, Dali. But yeah, it's crazy to see how much he's changed. And like, I feel like in these videos you wouldn't say he's a very careful horse, and now he's very careful. And he actually went the other way, then became, too careful. But anyway, we'll get to that. So in 2020, he was 4, and I broke him in. So this is the winter, you know, early in the year that he's turning 4. Classic Dali falling over the poles. He was one of the easiest horses I've ever broken in. I think when they're so big, they just can't really move very quickly. So I always felt so safe and so secure. Like I never really felt like I was going to fall off him. So this is my first sit on him, just walking around the yard. I do quite a few videos about how I break in horses, so you guys can have a look at them if you want a more kind of detailed video about this part of the journey. But basically, he was super quiet, super chilled out, and there was never any hassle at all with him. Here he's just having a little, his first little trot, just in the yard before we make our way out into the arena. So the year he turned 4 was obviously 2020, and it is the year I graduated from vet school. So I broke him in the winter, and then I had all my final exams. So that was obviously kept me very busy. So he basically gets broken in and a little walk, trot and canter around the arena, and then he goes out on a break until I finish my exams. And then once I finish my exams, well, actually right in the middle of my exams, COVID happens. So obviously everything's shut down. All you can do is ride at home. So he got a lot of riding at home before he ever went to a show, which is definitely not a bad thing. He's a big horse who's always going to take a long time to mature. But you can see from these videos, he was so sweet. He was such a good boy. I actually don't have any videos of this, but kind of halfway through his 4-year-old year, he switched. It was so strange. He went from literally going around like this, so easy. This is his first jump, so relaxed. And then it was like almost from one week to the next, he wouldn't go forward. He even reared a few times. He was so angry and so unhappy in the work. And I was like, what is going on? And it turns out he actually had 2 wolf teeth that had just popped up, and he was not happy about it. So took out the wolf teeth, and since then there's been no issues. He really turned around, and there was no problem. Something that people always comment on in videos of Dali is the amount of times he swishes his tail or puts his ears back. But I have to say, right there, that is a relaxed horse and his ears are back. He really shows his personality, I would say. And even when he gallops from the field, sometimes he really rings his tail. He swishes around like a helicopter. I think it's just him, because I cannot find anything wrong with this horse. Throughout the years, for various reasons, he's had, at one point I just x-rayed his whole body, back, all limbs, etc., just to make sure there's nothing that I needed to, do before he went into full work. He's absolutely perfect. He's never had any lameness issues. So I have to say, I think the tail swishing is just his personality. He's always done it. Over the jumps, he throws his tail up in the air, and that's just him. So after all that work in the arena, doing all the jumping and, just basically showing him the ropes, he finally gets out to his first time away from home, because lockdown is in one of those phases where it wasn't super lockdown. You know what it was like, guys. So he goes out for his first time schooling. So obviously this is summer now. You can tell by his coat, he's looking a lot more put together. He's looking a lot better. He's kind of starting to grow out of that ugly duckling phase. And he's very sensible. He's very nice on the flat. So basically, so simple. He just trots around a course of cross poles, and then we jump a little bit of a bigger fence at the end. But he's just working out where his feet are. He's always been a little bit on the spookier side. So even here, he really comes back to the trot just so he can have a look at it. He likes to slow down and make sure he knows exactly what he's doing before he jumps over anything. And this does crop up in future times. The kind of desensitizing journey with him never ends. We're constantly making sure he's confident and comfortable with fillers. So this was him. So he went schooling like this twice more, and then it was time for his very first show jumping round. So this is his very first show, and yeah, it was okay. You can see here he's a little bit nervous to the first fence. He's not so sure about that one. But he's got the canter going, and I feel like in this round, some jumps like that, you're thinking, oh God, what is this horse? And then other jumps, you're thinking, okay, there's a little bit of talent there. I feel like when he was younger, it was never consistently super good, but there was always glimpses of this potential. So I think, I don't know if this made me delusional, because now every horse I ride, I'm like, if it jumps one good jump, I think it can jump a Grand Prix. But like, look at that jump. It was brilliant. And then the next fence, he runs at it. Yeah. Just classic Dali. I think he just overthinks sometimes. And he has one good jump, but then I think he just got distracted and then didn't even think about this jump, because that's not spooky at all. Okay, go straight over it again. So yeah, he's just a funny boy. Obviously a lot of horse. Obviously this is also 4 years ago. I'm 4 years worse a rider than I am now. So, I'll get to this point, but there's a lot of work that I needed to do with my riding to ride him properly. It was definitely not all him. With a better rider, he would have been a lot further along, a lot quicker, but I think that's just life. Then you can see, he's a huge stride. He struggles with the doubles. He jumps the first part great, and then, it's hard for him to think about the next part. But yeah, as first shows go, not a disaster, but lots to work on. So yeah, as I said, because it was 2020, there wasn't a lot of shows or anything like that. So this is kind of all he did as a 4-year-old. Really not very much at all. Which I think, as I said, no harm at all. So then in 2021, he was 5 years old. Here is him at a show in the summer. So obviously he's come back into work. And I feel like this is like some shocking riding here. So please do not judge me. But I just had to put it in because this was a reality. So here he locks on to one jump. Then he goes in close and nearly fall off him. Oh my goodness, it's all over the place. There's no rideability. He's so huge. I'm not able to collect him. He's not strong enough to collect. He's, doesn't have really the buttons there. So it means that it's extremely difficult to ride a stride on him, because where, a correct distance for any normal horse, he finds very close and he throws in these very bizarre jumps. He really kind of manipulates his body in this strange way. So he always wants to jump in quite a long stride. But if you do that, then, if there's a distance or a double, you're screwed, because he's jumped in so big, and then how do you jump the next part of the double or the distance? So yes, I think this round really just epitomizes how poor our rideability was, and don't hold your breath, guys, it takes a while for it to get better. So this is him in a 90 centimeter towards the end of his 5-year-old year. When he was 5, I don't have many videos, and he really didn't do a huge amount. It was still kind of COVID. There wasn't a lot on. I also started going to Australia at this point, so I was only riding him for 6 months, and I didn't used to send him away to be brought into work before I came back. So it meant that, 2 of those months I was getting him fit, and then 3 months I would ride him. And like, look at that. Okay, this is just the classic, can't do a stride on him. He's just too long, don't have the rideability. He's too weak to really shorten. And he also really struggles to jump from a close distance. So yes, it's just, look, this year he just got a bit exposure. He didn't do a huge amount. We kind of didn't get better or worse. It was a pretty stagnant year probably for improvement with him, but that's okay. He's just a baby. He's only 5. So in 2022, this is only 2 years ago, I couldn't believe when I saw this video. This is him in the 80 centimeter, and we get eliminated for 3 stops. How does he go from this to Grand Prix in 2 years? I honestly don't know how it's happened. But anyway, so yeah, this is just our first show of the season. He's so spooky. So spooky. Really, the confidence isn't there. Here's the water tray, can't get him over the water tray, even though, when he was a 4-year-old and when I was breaking him in, he walked over that water tray 1 million times. But he's kind of horse, if he doesn't see something for a while, then when he does see it, it's like he's forgotten. So yeah, he used to be very spooky when he was younger. Happy to say now that he's doesn't care less, which is, thank God. But it did take a while. And yeah, it's just messy. He's spooking and I don't have him between my hand and leg. And, can't get him over that. Same old, same old. So it's not great. And really what I do is just take it, well, I would say right back to basics, but I mean, he's jumping in the 80 centimetres, the smallest class of the show. So it's hard to get more back to basics than that. But when I was riding him at home, we were just constantly desensitizing him with fillers, getting him really nice and confident as much as possible. This is now 2 months later, so he doesn't do many shows, just a lot of work at home. And, you can see already the confidence is growing, he's getting better. And the rideability, okay, it's fine. It's not amazing. The stride has to be there. You can see there, I'm trying to shorten him for that distance and he's really fatting me. And, the rideability, the shortening just still isn't there. And I will say, of course, it's easy to look back and say, oh, why didn't you just school him more? Why didn't you just have the rideability better? But I think that because he's so big and weak, it's honestly just very difficult for him to really shorten like that. So I think it's probably the best it could have been for his stage, of experience. And I think that if I had my time back again, I just would have gone to less shows. But I don't think I could have gotten him to this point probably any quicker. I think I just wasted a lot of money going to shows when I wasn't able to really ride the horse. But yeah, maturity wise, he just needed the time. So this is now in a 120, very, very small 120. It looks like a 110 really. And you can see like that, through the triple, our rideability is a little bit better, but also he's so much better. He's really learning, he's getting stronger. If you compare that to the triple combination that was at his first show, when he just kind of goes through the second and third part, he's really backing up, he's sitting up, he's careful, he's using his body better. So yeah, it's slowly coming. Yeah, I feel like there's like 3 areas that we had to work on. 1 was my riding, 2 was his rideability, and 3 is his strength. And I feel like at different points in time, one is stronger than the other. Like I feel like in this video, he's a lot stronger, but the rideability isn't great and the riding is average, I would say. And there, he over jumps and then hits the jump. That's just total greenness and him just working out how to use his body. So then 2023, last year comes, and this was the start of the breakthrough when it comes to Dali. So I think until this point, we were just kind of chasing our tail a little bit. Some days would be good, some days would be bad. I didn't really have a clear plan. Then I went to France for a few months to my friend Lauren's place. Look at this amazing arena. And we knuckled down big time. We went to a show and we had a bad show. And I was like, we need to change something seriously here. So I included this video of us jumping just to really show you guys where we were at and how much we had to work on. So you can see there when I try and go in a little bit closer to the jump, he does these funny jumps. He's not really able to use his body as well as he should. Also, I'm not putting him in the perfect spot every time. He has all the jump in the world, but then, the rideability, trying to get him back for this vertical, he just runs straight through my hand and gets in close, and then he doesn't have that, strength to use himself properly when we're, not in the perfect spot. And it's just very variable. Some jumps are good and some jumps are not good at all. Here he's just pulling me the whole way down to that jump. So that's where we started this year. And this is when I said, we need to knuckle down and get serious. So first things first, building his strength. I did lots of grid work on him, bounces, grids, shortening and lengthening. We really nailed our flying changes because they were not good enough. Sometimes it would take a few strides to get the change and you just don't have that time when you're in a show jumping round. So the first thing was just really knuckling down on his strength, his flexibility, making sure he felt 100%. He had lots of physio sessions and making sure he was very, very strong. And you can see he struggled. It was hard for him. And this was something he had to learn and get better and get more flexible. Next thing was me. I needed to become a better rider. I needed to become more accurate. So how we did that was my course riding was not good enough. I wasn't good enough with my lines, and I wasn't good enough with getting the perfect stride every time on him, because he's a little bit more difficult to get a stride on just because of his size, but it's no excuse. I had to get better. So what we would do at this yard, Lauren and I would watch... We would watch like Grand Prix very, very often, and we would download the course plan and we would set up the courses, or as much of the course as possible, in the arena. And then all week I would ride it as poles on the ground or just cavalettes like this, really practicing my lines, my strides, my, making sure I could ride him, I could shorten him, lengthen him, get our flying changes, and just really improve my eye and my course riding. Because it's hard when you have one or two horses to get better at riding courses, because to get better you have to do more, and I mean you can't just jump your horse a course every day. The poor horse, you'll lose its legs. So by just doing them as poles or cavalettes, we were able to ride courses more often without jumping the legs off our horses. So this is what we do. We do this all week, and then at the end of the week we would test ourselves by making it an actual course, full up height, and then jump that as if it was a show. And I will say, this did improve my riding a huge amount, and it was, invaluable, I would say. So this is more of the grid work and getting him stronger and working very hard. Bless him, it's hard for him. He finds it hard to shorten and then use the power from a short, close stride. He likes to use his momentum to help him get over the jump, as opposed to actually using his muscles and getting strong. So things like this are quite hard for him. Also this time I tried a few different bits. So this is him in a 2-ring, and I also try him in a pelham, and I do ride him in a pelham for a while after that, before eventually getting back to a snaffle, because that I'm like obsessed with trying to ride all my horses in snaffles. So I think already you can see the rideability difference. My riding's better. I'm sitting up. He's coming back to me. If you compare that to the first clip from France, when I do a similar line and he just pulls me down the whole way, that's so different, so much better. And these lines where, as a related distance, these would always catch us out. Here he's, staying in the rhythm. He's not pulling me. We have another bending line to another fence. Again, much, much, much better. So look, it's not perfect, but it's getting there. And for example, here, that wasn't a good jump. He was hollow. He was fighting my hand. Then I don't get a good flying change for a few strides. He's fighting me, so I just circle. And, I practice this course as cavalettes, and it just shows when it is a jump. When they go up to jumps, it is a different ride. So I just come around and I do it again, and I give him a better ride, and I have him softer to the vertical. This is him in the pelham. Honestly, looking at this video, I don't love the pelham with him, but I think it was a bit of I think I just had to go with something a little bit stronger for the training to then be able to go down to the snaffle. That was quite good of him there to go in quite strong, and then I was able to really sit up, and he still fights, but he listens. But yeah, it's not perfect yet. So now we go to a show finally after all that work, and it's so much better. The rideability is so much better. Yes, they're only very small jumps. It's crazy to think that last year he was only jumping like whatever this is, a meter 10. So it's small for him, but it was just essential to work on the rideability and to make sure that was 100% before we, try to jump anything bigger. And I think you can see here, it's much, much better. And then we come home to Ireland and we jump a few 120s and 130s, and we get our, clear at 130 level finally. Here, again, it's okay, but it's not amazing. Like, he's listening to me in that he's waiting, but he's not waiting in a good way. He's still fighting a little bit with the bridle and our flying change. That wasn't a perfect flying change. So although things were better, sometimes there was still, moments where it wasn't so good. Here, he has a little spook and then kind of comes back bar, but then jumps out well. So yeah, it's not it's not all plain sailing, and this is a classic example because after all those rounds I was thinking, oh, I have it, I feel great, I feel like I can ride him, he's going really well. And then he comes out, and sometimes he has days where he just becomes so careful that you can't ride him. And like this, he just jumps up into the air and won't jump across the fence, and then stops the second fence. And honestly, I called it a day because I just thought, this isn't right. So back to the drawing board. We went home, we did lots of desensitizing, we got his confidence back up again. And then this is one of my last shows of the year, and he's just popping around. I think this is a 120. He's jumping a few 120, 130s. The rideability is good. The problem is when we go into a smaller arena, like this arena at Mullingar is so nice. It's huge. You have so much room. It's so nice for the young horses. But then the previous arena was quite small, lots of jumps, and the rideability and the control just wasn't good enough. It just wasn't good enough. So just when I thought it was going well, tested by a new environment, a smaller arena, and realised, okay, we still have lots of holes in our training and we need to keep working on this. So got him around a few nice confident rounds to end the year, and then he went on a break while I went to Australia. So this is the other thing, that every year I only ride him for 6 months. So he gets a good 6-month break every year, which I feel like has been so good for him and honestly every horse that I've ridden. I find that especially when they end on a relatively good note, even if it's, just hints of good work, that they come back and they've really mentally matured and thought about it, and they come back better than ever. And I feel like this year wasn't quite a breakthrough year, but it was almost a breakthrough year. I think it was a breakthrough with my mentality towards him, but he, it was a bit of a catch up. And then when it comes to 2024, he comes out fighting, and he's really matured and really learned. So this is one of our first shows of the year. This is a 125. I'm back in the snaffle, guys. So although the rideability was very good then with the pelham, so then I went back to the snaffle. And okay, there's a few moments where he still fights a little bit. And, I'm not saying he's a perfect horse. He's still got a lot to work on, but it was so much better. So this is him in a 135 spring tour, which is like it's a spring tour kind of league in Ireland at the start of the year to jump a few bigger classes. And this is his first time jumping this height. And to jump at the start of the year, it was a big deal for him. Few green mistakes, jumped in huge to this triple, just struggled to get out over the last part. Jumps over the open water, up to the wall. There's lots to like. The confidence is all there. He really matured over the winter. His confidence developed. He developed in his body. And he's jumping very well. He's really getting there. And my riding is slightly better, thank goodness. Still got, still always lots and lots to work on, but it was getting so much better. Then we go to Belgium for 3 weeks, and I think this made a huge difference to Dali. It was 3 weeks of jumping. I really came on as a rider. He really grew in confidence. The first 2 weeks we jumped, we started the 110, then we did the 120, then we did the 130. And then the last week he jumped the international 8-year-old class, which is 135. And he jumps clear with just a time fault. And this is the best round. It's probably the best round he did all year, to be fair. It was just so nice. He's jumping so well. He's listening to me. He's using his body well. I'm in the snaffle. I'm able to stay down that distance. I'm able to wait. And then I'm able to ride him forward the last stride because he has waited. That was often my problem, is because his stride was so big, I was often still waiting when I got to the second part of the distance, which then that makes it very difficult for him to jump because he needs to jump and I'm still holding him back. But now because he listens to me, I'm able to wait, and then the last stride or two, just allow him to ride forward to the fence. He does get a little bit long and a little bit low in the head towards the end of the course, something I need to work on. It's probably me as well, getting a little bit, I need to be fitter, I need to be stronger too. It's not just him. The rider's important too. But yeah, that was the end of that round, and I think it was definitely one of his best rounds to date. So then when we came back to Ireland, I jumped the 7-8-year-old RDS qualifier. This is the biggest 7-8-year-old class in the country in Ireland. It's, qualifies you for the Dublin Horse Show. So this was the first qualifier. I'm not going to lie, I think my nerves really got to be better of me in this course. You can see that I really hold him to the base of that jump. Poor thing. I'm just pulling too much. Nerves gotten to me. I'm pulling him in close. You win some, you lose some. I think it's a good testament to the amount of confidence he gained since the previous year, because before, if I had, messed up like that, he would have said, no way am I doing this on my own. But he's just gotten so much more confident. I think he's really starting to enjoy the jumping. He feels like he can do it. And then because of that, he's more confident. So then we do a week or two just kind of local shows. Again, easier courses. So this was a thing where I could jump a course like this in my sleep any height, where there's loads of room, there's no tricky distances, the jumps are all fairly spaced away from each other. In our sleep, easy peasy, it's, so easy. But the problem was when we started jumping the trickier courses, like the age classes or the Grand Prix, the technicality was just highlighting any weakness we had in our rideability. So it was definitely a big, very good to learn and to kind of push myself and him to jump the trickier classes. But then it was nice to come back to these classes and remember, okay, we can actually do this. It keeps his confidence high. It keeps my confidence high. And then, every few weeks we would jump something a little bit trickier and test our rideability. So then we did the last 7-8-year-old qualifier. It was in Mullingar, our local venue, and he just touches a single pole. It's, again, very, very good round. Probably one of his better rounds that year. This was a bit of a funny jump. I remember thinking, oh gosh. And then I think because of that funny jump, he just, again, with that kind of distraction, it's like when he has one mistake, he tends to have a few mistakes because he struggles to kind of refocus. But he was very good then to get kind of back on track and jump around quite nicely. And, the rideability is really coming. We're only in a snaffle now at this point. And I think it's not as obvious when I'm having to hold him back now. There's not this big kind of fight. Here, it was a short distance to a triple combination. I feel like it looks like I just cantered down it. But let me tell you guys, I'm not just cantering around because he's quite difficult. And then again here, a big oxer, a short stride to a, small kind of plain poled vertical. It's just classic, difficult line for Dali. But I think he's really come on. He's really come on with his riding, his rideability. So then we do a 135. It's called a Grand Prix, I guess. I guess it's kind of called a Grand Prix. What's the definition of Grand Prix? Hard to know. It's a Grand Prix league that is in Ireland. And it's 135. So it's nice. It's not so big. Those RDS qualifiers were 140. So they were his first time jumping 140, but a little bit easier because they were a young horse class. So then now we're doing a 135. So smaller, but more technical because it's a Grand Prix class for older horses. So it was nice to kind of pick and mix and give it a go. That was good on him. See how he kind of got in a little bit deep, but he's really able to use himself a lot better now. He doesn't kind of get to the base of a jump and just panic. But we still have kind of green mistakes like that where he jumps a little bit up into the air. But overall, so much better. So much better. So much more to like. And yes, I feel like this video is not the end of his journey. We have so much more to learn. And I have so much more to learn. And I really need to keep improving my riding on him. I find him difficult. I love riding him. But he's just a lot of horse and I really need to be stronger. And I am going to the gym. I'm trying to get strong, guys. But he is just, he's big. You can see my legs barely come past the bloody saddle pad. But I'm trying. And then for our very last show of the year, we jumped the 140 National Grand Prix. And we have a good start and a good end. Couple of poles in the middle. But overall, a huge difference to the horse he used to be. Even last year, especially 2 years ago. When you think that 2 years ago he jumped in that arena and had 3 stops in the 80 centimeters, and now he's jumping very confidently around, you know, a tough 140. It's insane, and I'm so proud of him. I love him so much, and I'm so excited for next year with him. Onwards and upwards, we'll jump the same. We'll jump a few 135 in the spring tour, start of the year to warm up, get my eye back in, and then a few of the National Grand Prix again, and just see how we go. And fingers crossed for a successful 2025 with Dali. Yeah, I love him.